This is Toole Time, real estate radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Sarah Tymon, she's Stacey Mitchell. And we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And ladies, I found out yesterday we're number 14 in the country year to date. Pretty exciting.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's really exciting.
We got to keep it up. But
yes.
Good start, because I thought the first quarter kind of sucked. I don't know about you guys.
Wow.
And we are streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. We've got the OG videographer, Nick, behind the camera today. Very excited for that. And we're going to go right into some interesting information. And there's a lot of real estate news this week to cover, which I'm excited about. The first thing we're going to talk about, there has been a lot of builder red flags being raised about a housing crisis. There was an article on Zero Hedge that came out last week on Thursday, and it basically said, since the Fed is rushing to hike the U.S. into a deep recession just so inflation will supposedly slide ahead of the November midterms, which I don't agree with all this. I think this is very aggressive language that they're putting in here, but this is what they're saying. And last week, Zillow, and we talked about this on our show last week as well, they stoked some fears that rising rates might result in a downturn. They didn't say downturn, they said choppy waters. So I already don't like this article. They're taking a lot of liberties here. But basically, they went on to say that there's all these builders in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. Did you know San Antonio is the 7th most populous metro area in the country?
Wow. Really?
Shocking news. I was there 2 weeks ago, and we found that out. So builders in these big markets that are usually good indicators, they're saying things like interest lists are shrinking, buyers are truly pausing, traffic has been cut in half since the hike in rates, investor activity has slowed in Raleigh, LA, buyers who are stretching to purchase have become more cautious. So there's a lot of builder red flags here about the housing market. And recently, Zillow just revised their estimate year over year. Like at the beginning of the year, they were talking like 16, 19% increases in property values. Now they're down to 14.2% as their new projection. So what do you two think about all this?
Well, 14.2% is no small potatoes, so that's pretty good considering that it's supposed to be a downturn. But I think that I would like more information on where the builders' numbers and where they're getting that information from, just to dive deeper and see what that's all about. But definitely there is a shift in the market. Mm-hmm. It's starting, but out here in the field, I still think that the clients that I'm working with, there's a lot of people still looking for houses. The interest rate didn't scare them away yet. So I know it's a race against the clock because some people might be priced out if it goes up higher. But it's inevitable. It's inevitable that things are going to change because everything changes. So it's just to what degree.
Yeah, I think that in some of these different areas, new construction is a bit more prevalent than others. I know we have pockets where there is new construction out here. In general, we don't see as much new construction here in the Philadelphia area and the surrounding suburbs as you might see in some of these other places. But I think that buyers are impacted across the board, whether it's buying a 100-year-old home or putting in for new construction. They're feeling the change.
Yeah, that's a great point. That we're not a new construction market unless you're going out to like Western Chester County, like Northern Montgomery County, Delaware County. I don't see a lot of new construction anywhere, or the lots are horrible that they're built on, or it's like the old Edgemont Golf Course, like up the street from our office, which has been there for years. I don't buy into the builder sentiment as much because you think about that. What's the most expensive car you can buy?
A brand new car.
Brand new car, right? What's the most expensive house? A brand new house. And invariably, those homes are way more expensive when you customize them than if you get the gently used 1-year-old home with the kitchen that maybe you don't design yourself, but also is really nice. So, of course, they're going to see that because that's the highest price point acquisition available in the market. What do you think about Zillow walking back their projections? Because now they're it's almost like 4 or 5% from where they were originally at the beginning of the year. And one point in February, they upped their predictions on how much prices are going to go up. Now they're kind of walking it back down to 14%. What do you two think about that?
I think their initial number did feel high. It was higher than what all the other projections were coming out to. 14 is still a high number, and I think it's a believable number. So I feel like they could be trending, pretty accurately there.
Yeah, I think it was pretty aggressive, their initial, we even talked about that on the
Mhm.
show,
Yeah.
like, wow, that's pretty aggressive. So they just adjusted, and they get a lot of the data that comes in directly, so it's probably more on point.
I would argue that it's still too high, and
Yeah.
the reason I say that is you look at like what KCM does, so Keeping Current Matters. They have those 7 different housing authorities they chart, and the average they're seeing from those people, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ivy Zelman, the Home Expectation Price Survey, their average is 6.7%. So
Okay.
to me, Zillow was like, I don't know if they got excited or they just over projected. Now they do have a lot of that data around pending sales, but what they're not factoring in is like there's a lot of blowouts right now too. I mean, we're seeing on average for every 14, 15 homes we put under contract, 2 to 3 of those are blowing out right now, and that's on a weekly basis, and we're charting this data internally. So when we get to the end of the year, knowing that Zillow's walking back their number, are you guys over or under 10% appreciation? What do you think? I'm putting you both on the spot here. I've got my number, but I'm waiting till the end.
I still say over.
Over.
Yeah.
Hammer the over, Stacey Mitchell.
Over.
I'm thinking under, but just slightly. Like, I think it's going to be like 9 point something. I think it's going to be higher than like 6 point something.
I'm in agreement with Sarah that we're in that like 7 to 9% range is probably what we're going to see. It always ends up being in the middle. You know, some people saying 3%. I mean, it's already been 3% this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're wrong.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of factor that in. I don't know that the market's going to accelerate as quickly as Zillow says, and to me, we're seeing a deceleration. What these builders indicate to me, that's like the highest price point. I don't care. I'm going to pay whatever I want for a new
Right.
home buyer. And we've all had those people, right? They're buying a new home no matter what happens. That's
Right.
not for everybody. What I know about that is that those people are the first ones to kind of slow down a little bit because they're also maybe less cognizant of their finances. They're a little more, you know, they're just happy to pay the price for the new home because that's what they want. And what's happened so far since the past 2 years is that we're decelerating, right? And when you're going down the road 150 miles an hour and you slow down to 90, it feels a lot slower. I don't think it's dramatic that you need to keep pushing things back. I think Zillow was just going way too fast in the first place. So I'm in agreement with you, Sarah. I think that's a really great point. To piggyback off of this, there was an article from Keeping Current Matters that came out because we want to really get a handle of like where the market's going, and we want to look at all the different experts that are out there. And I've got a lot of trust in David Childers and his team over there. And there was a recent survey from the National Association of Realtors, and one of the top challenges buyers face, no surprise, finding a house that meets their needs. Is this a shock to you too?
No.
Not at all. Okay, and that's because inventory's low. There are early signs that inventory may be growing. So the latest data from Realtor.com shows the number of listings coming onto the market or new listings has increased since the start of the year. And they have a graph, which I don't know how we're going to get it up on the show here, maybe the post-broadcast. In terms of thousands, there was 326,000 new listings in January, 370,000 new listings in February, 434,000 new listings in March, and 492,000 listings in April. So knowing that's the case, and there's also, according to the research, the majority of potential sellers plan to list over the next 6 months, do we see more inventory coming on the market? And probably the big question, are we getting over a month supply in the suburbs and over 2 month supply in the city? Because we've been trending under that for about a good 24 months now. What do you think?
I would love to be at over a month's supply of inventory in the suburbs.
Selfishly, yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, I'm really hoping that it gets to that point. I do believe it's going to. I don't know how much over a month's supply. I think the highest we were up to was a month and a half, in recent history. But now we're back down. I noticed in April we were pretty low. But yeah, I do believe it's going to trend that way. Just from my perspective out in the field, I know there's some sellers that have been really waiting, and now they see that things are changing, and so for them it's kind of like, oh, I want to hurry up and get my house on the market and list it.
Right.
So I think that is what's taking place. They don't want to miss out on this, this seller's market boom. So I really think that that's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference as far as satisfying the number of buyers out there, but any little bit is going to help at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that I'd love to see inventory creep up a little bit because
You
it
hear
is
the excitement in their voices, by the way. This is really important. Keep going.
because I mean it's difficult to when you know what people want and you know what they need to get to in order to get into the home, and there's just aren't a ton of options to choose from. Now, I do think that with the inventory ticking up, the speed at which they go under contract, I think, is still going to be a factor here. Mm-hmm. So, you may have a couple more things that as you're searching through for people that you're able to see, but I think the importance of getting out there right away and still having everything lined up and ready to go is definitely going to still be very important because, again, we have a ton of buyers, and if they see inventory, as they're, it's interesting because we send listings out to our clients, but we can also see, as people are searching on Zillow or whatnot. So, there are people that I think probably have still been searching on Zillow, but not actually going out there and taking a look at stuff. So they see some of what is coming on, and if they start to see it tick up, that might be enough to kind of get them to be like, all right, I actually want to go out and see homes again versus before. So I think it'll go quick.
That's a really great point because I think a lot of people are just like so beaten down right now. Mm-hmm. What's the most amount of offers you wrote with a client over the past 24 months to give some perspective?
Oh, the most?
I mean, I think I had at least, like for one client, how many did we write? Probably, I think I did like 15. 15, yeah. 15 offers. I think I know who you're talking about. I think it's, we're not going to say their name, obviously.
Wow. That's high.
Have you hit 15?
I've never been that high, no.
So
thank goodness.
And a lot of times it depends on what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of this spot in the market right now where all the move-up buyers are going. And it's that, to me, it's like that, like 5 to 7 range is probably, or 5, and it could go up to 8. It could go down as low as 4, depending on where you are in like Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, and more so in the suburbs than the city, because a lot of people are looking for that elbow space. They want to go to that next home. They want to lock in that low payment for 20 years, or at least they did until rates went up. That to me is the toughest part of the market. I don't think there's any question. And because of what you said, some people are just like, I'm done. I can't deal with this. And if they see stuff just hanging around a little longer, and then there's going to be the other issue sellers have to fight, which is like, what's wrong with the home? It hasn't sold in 3 weeks, which is mind-blowing to me, having been in the industry as long as I have. That is going to build confidence, and that confidence is going to start to get people back out there, and it's going to be, hey, we're actually going to have like a day to think about the home. Mm-hmm. We had a training last week, we talked about this, where like people are targeting homes that are 20-plus days on the market, and they can actually get inspections accepted. I mean, that's pretty wild to me, too, that's what we're talking about. That'd be a fast sale. Pre-2020. So the more this happens, and I'm clear there will be more inventory, but it's going to be slow, right? And my view is this. We get to that July 4th like special date, and I say that because that is the end of typically like the spring market. Everyone goes on vacation. They go, you go to a barbecue, you get your red, white, and blue on, whatever you're going to do. People kind of take off then. Then it's like July's a little slower, right? Mm-hmm. The summer, school's finally out for all the kids that are school age. Then everyone goes away in August, and I'm interested to see what the fall market's going to be like. Last year, our team took advantage of this where we were really aggressive in August, September, October, November. We saw a ton of sales come in. I think I see the same thing for the realtors that are working there and the buyers that won't give up. But you got to know what to say to these people. So knowing that we're seeing this happening, what are you saying to folks right now that are maybe a little bit beat up by the market, or they're feeling, hey, this is maybe not the time for me to buy a home? How are you keeping them in the game? I know you've done a great job with this. So have you, Stacey. What's that language like, and what do buyers need to hear that maybe feel a little beat up by the past 24 months?
I mean, I would say it's a combination of first also like sorting through and figuring out how motivated are the buyers. Because if you are somebody who really is just looking for that great deal, which I know we've talked about a lot, like maybe this isn't the perfect time for you to be out there. I mean, there might never be, you know what I mean? Like it's in a fair, balanced market, it's not that one side of the transaction walks away like the king and the other walks away with nothing. I mean, I know like the transaction.
It's like Game of Thrones,
right? I mean, I know like obviously the transferring of the home is the reward in the big picture here, but like it's not that one person should feel like they got everything and the other one feels like they gave up everything. In a fair, good transaction, both parties should walk away feeling good about it.
That's a great point.
And so I think just kind of for the buyers that are feeling beat up, continuing to show them, what's out there, what their payments look like, and getting down to really focusing on like, why do you want to move, And if they want to move and they see value in that and they can picture where this is all going and if it's worth it to them to do it, just kind of like keeping big picture in mind and not to get too bogged down by all the little details. And also like sometimes you don't get that first house, you don't get that second house, you don't get that 14th house, but like when you get
the 15th
but
house.
you get the 15th. So it's kind of like you have to stay in it, or you're not going to get it. I mean,
Right.
you don't get a house if you don't put in an offer.
Yeah, we have to continue to be their cheerleaders and bring the positivity to them, because it's tough. I mean, for us, just as their agents, it's a gut punch. So for them who missed out on the home numerous times over, it really stings, especially if it was something they had their heart set on and they really thought they put everything into that offer.
Right.
And they could picture themselves in the home.
Yeah.
And, it can be really, really tough. And I called it a hangover to one of my clients the other day, and she's like, exactly.
Right.
I feel like it's a big
I've never had a hangover. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, she could definitely relate to what I said, so.
Well, and especially when they're good offers, because
Yes,
we all know that
yes.
there's clients that in some situations they can't get out of their own way for the first offer or two that they put
Great
in.
point.
And
Yeah.
we try to encourage them to do what will give them the best shot, but sometimes you do need to lose one or two. And but it's after that point when they start doing all the right things and you
yeah.
really put together a good, strong offer, but so did everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hurts.
So that's where you really have to,
Yeah.
when you don't have another suggestion to give them for what could have gotten it done, besides
Right.
There are
more
limiting
money.
factors. That's a
Yeah.
great point.
Yeah.
so.
So it is tough, but you just have to keep them positive and get them back to their motivation and whatever that may be, family, schools, whatever. Keep them focused on that motivation just to keep them in.
The negative energy is real. You two ladies are very positive, right? A lot of people are not. I mean, and you can see it when they walk in a room. Like, someone's got a bad attitude,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
within seconds. Imagine that's your realtor and you lost out on 14 other homes. Or imagine you lost out on 2. It doesn't matter. And if
Right.
you're coming in there as an agent, all the agents need to listen to this right now if you want to have a long, successful career. Get rid of the negative energy in your life, because it's never going to help you in this business. You have got to be overly positive with the amount of no's and rejections that happen, because it's a competitive market. And even when the market shifts, you're still going to get no's and rejection. So I think that's really great advice from both of you. And I know you're doing it, which I think is the most important thing, because it's not just like, rhetoric or talk here. Last thing I'll hit on, we're going to take a quick break, is there's another article that came out on PAR Just Listed. It talked about how fast buyers are ready to look at make offers on properties. And to me, this is a big change. And if I'm a buyer right now, or a seller that needs to buy a home, I'd be trying to move faster than this data here. And I think this is a really good way to wrap this up. So according to this was written, it's on PAR Just Listed, or PARealtors.org. 65% of buyers said they're willing to make an offer within 3 days of viewing a home. That is too slow.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Totally.
20% are prepared to make one immediately after viewing. That's what you need to do. And that's actually backed up, because if you look at the offers that get accepted, it's the people that write the most offers are number one. But also, we've seen an offer acceptance rate anywhere from like 15 to 25% across the country. The numbers line up here. That it's probably the people that are writing fast are the ones that are winning. How many times you had someone wait and they lost on the property?
Oh, absolutely.
All the time. And they're like, I need a day. Well,
Right.
You don't have a
Not
day.
gonna be here.
Yeah, we're going to clip that out, Nick. It's not going to be here next time. That was good. So I found that to be really interesting. And what they also said is that Redfin found that 65% of the homes on the market in March had multiple bids. That's a little lower than where I thought it would be. And that tells me the market's starting to shift, where it might be like 3 offers, not 15 offers. What did Janine say last week? She thought it was going to be a bloodbath at this home in the suburbs. And she works in the city and the suburbs. And it's a little different in both. But it wasn't as bad as they thought. And a lot of times it's not price that's winning, it's terms and conditions.
Correct. Yep, I have to agree with that. Yeah, she thought she was would have been one of multiple offers, and she believes, or she felt that they were the only offer that had come in, which was surprising.
Well, that was the home in the city.
Oh, was it?
The one
Okay.
she didn't get, they were like number 2,
Oh,
and I think
gotcha.
it was close.
Okay.
And
Oh, that's right.
But she
And-
thought it was out of maybe like 5 as opposed to
Yeah.
15.
Right.
yes, exactly, yeah. So I think that to me is the first indicator. And it's tough to track that, because we never know how many offers are in on a home. But if this is what's going on right now, that tells me what KCM's saying is right on. Zillow should be revising their shift, because they are way too high. And we're still going to see appreciation, but the market's just going to decelerate. I think all the signs are there. I mean, I'm seeing them from all angles here.
And I think having your offer written right away is helpful in a couple different ways. One, you don't know how many other people are writing offers, and if they could accept something that day and it's physically gone for tomorrow.
This has
but
been
also-
happening a lot, by
Right.
the way.
Oh yeah, like
Say that again, because I think it's important that some people, there's no deadline, right?
Right. And or even if they like say, oh, we're going to be reviewing offers this day, don't wait until the end to get it in, because they may just, take one. And it shows that you are willing to like make movement and that you're excited about it and that you're not going to like twiddle your thumbs, which, and I know this is a huge decision, so I don't mean to like downplay it in like, oh, what, you think you need to sleep on it tonight because you're buying like your biggest investment? But if it's something that you're, if you're prepped for it, you're ready for it, and if this is checking the boxes, don't overthink it in terms of like, let me give it more time. Because as the listing side of stuff, if I have, people are going out to showings and then I'm reviewing them, and the agent that calls me that went out and saw it and they were like, we love it, we're putting an offer in, and then they put in an offer that day.
Yes.
And especially if they followed all the instructions
Yes.
for like,
Yes.
if for this, like
Bingo.
when we're
Yeah,
doing
they
what,
call you,
then
they
I'm
email
like,
you.
yes, thank you. You
Yep.
read it, you did it, and because then you also have people that are like, oh yeah, we're interested, we're gonna write an offer, and then it's like a
You never
day
hear
goes
from
by, another day goes by, like, so it shows that you are gonna take action and that you're serious about it. And I think
agree.
that on the listing side, also, it feels good as the offers come in to be able to go back to your client that we've already got some stuff in hand here. It just like, it helps everything, I think, just go a lot smoother.
I couldn't agree more on that, and we're going to end here and take a quick break. But what it shows is that these people want the house.
Right.
They're not going to jerk you around. They're not going to be difficult to negotiate with. They're not going to be one of these passive decision makers, which, whether that's your style or not, you have to send a message with the contract that you send, because you're dealing with a human being on the other side. It's not like it's a company. You're not going to buy a suit or a dress or whatever, or a car where you're dealing with a corporation. You're dealing with people, and people value certainty in these transactions. And the more decisive you are, the better. Now, for the buyers that say, I don't want to be decisive, that's where you've got to find a realtor that's going to coach you on how to be decisive and get you the information up front, instead of, well, this is great, Sarah, but I don't know what to do next. And I know you don't do this, or you or anybody here. That's not how we train people. But there's a lot of agents, they just go, okay, we're going to show you the house. We're not going to tell you how it works. And if you like something, we'll figure it out as we go. That's not the way to make the biggest financial decision most people make.
Right.
Great stuff here. So as the market decelerates, going 150 to 90, it feels a lot slower. It's still going to be competitive, and it's still important to take all the stuff we've been talking about over the past 24 months. If you're a consumer out there or an agent, don't stop or deviate from that.
Right.
It just might be a little bit of a slower process or less competitive. But I think Susan said this from our team. If you have a multiple offer mindset going into every situation, you're going to win.
Right. I
So,
agree.
so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some other news. We've been tracking these stories for a while, specifically the love letter ban, and NAR is raising its dues by $10, and there is uproar among realtors. We'll cover it next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. And again, we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team since 2018 in Pennsylvania. And we are talking about, this might be the longest running story we've covered on the show besides Zillow and the whole Zillow saga. It's like a 7-part movie now, like Harry Potter or something. The love letter, Oregon court case. So last week, there was a story that came out. The state of Oregon is going to accept a court ruling that is halting the ban on love letters as unconstitutional. So you can't have the ban anymore. It's against the Constitution. They're saying that it violates First Amendment rights, according to Judge Marco Hernandez. What do you think about all this?
I thought that it would probably stick, but I think this is totally different than the housing, the discrimination, fair housing laws that we have.
Sure.
So I know how our brokerage firm feels about the love letters, and I think that I was kind of surprised. I thought this would stick, and I thought it would start a trend across the country here. But no, lo and behold, I was wrong about that. Not the first time. But in general, I do believe that these love letters, I think they're very risky. I think that there's agents that don't even know that it could be against fair housing. Mm-hmm. They think that, oh, it's cute, and here's the family, and, they want to buy the house, and this is what they look like, and their dog, and everything else. So I think that this is definitely going to open up Pandora's box again, and just continue the process of the love letters. And I think that each individual brokerage firm is going to have to kind of put down their own rules and, really lay it out how these can really put you in jeopardy of violating the fair housing laws. So, but I was I was kind of surprised it got overturned. But
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that it is just kind of opening the door for, this came up for a reason, and it was started for a reason. And I think that by, kind of backing down here, there's probably going to be more cases that come up. I don't think this is going to be the end of us hearing about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard because, I see it from both sides, as the buyer or as, the buyer's agent. You want to be this is the perfect house for, my clients, and, they're gonna grow their family here, or this is gonna be so great for their job, or you want them to know all the reasons of why we get it, we need it more, Mm-hmm. But it violates fair housing if you give too much of this information, and I think it is better to just have it black and white, and it's not allowed, and not open it up for potential issues.
So you both bring up great points, and I think there's two things here. There's fair housing laws, mm-hmm. and there's the Constitution. So just because something is not constitutional doesn't mean there couldn't be a lawsuit and there's an illegal act taking place. Right. And what I get concerned about, you mentioned on the last segment, 15 offers to get a house. Mm-hmm. Do you think that buyer was ever kind of pissed off about what happened or ticked off? Yeah. What if they lose another one and they find out the other buyer wrote a really nice love letter? Right. And they somehow get a copy of this, and there's a picture of the family in there, or they say they go to church up the street, or they have X amount of kids. All of a sudden, familial status, you can make a guess about race based on the picture, their religion, all these things come into play. You can guess how old they are probably from the picture. At least, not everyone. Most people look younger than they do, but, it depends, right? All of a sudden, one lawsuit goes a long way, and that's my concern for my clients who we're here to protect. The same with you two, and it's just it's the world we live in now. You've got to be very, very careful about this, because all it takes is one ticked off buyer, and I'm sure there are a lot of them, and that concerns me. What I also wonder about here is the lack of knowledge and education on what is fair housing and what isn't. And some people say, well, I can write an innocuous letter. Well, they're not even thinking about it half the time. Right. They just send these things over. So, so you're on the listing side. Are you presenting these things to your seller? What are you doing? Because I know they can get to them if they want to or not. Think about this. A buyer could literally go to the house and just drop it off at the house. You can't stop that from happening. Right. But it's more, what do the agents do? I think that's because we're held to a different standard as realtors and real estate agents.
Right. What buyers do on their own time, we can't control. Right. We have if they want to go up and talk to the sellers, you can't control that. Right. What we do as agents, we can control. Mm-hmm. So for us to, if we have a buyer and and they'll say, I want to give you a letter, that's fine, I can't submit it, but you can give me the letter, fine, I'll take their letter, but I'm not going to send it along.
Agreed. I would do the same thing.
Right, because I don't want them to feel because they did, if they write these letters, they want it to go somewhere, maybe to make them feel better, I don't know. But as an agent, we
Feel
don't
better about
pass
their
it.
losing offers?
Exactly. But we can't pass that information along. On the listing side, if they do come in, they're gone. You know, they're just removed out from
Right,
the
and I mean,
offer.
I think specifically say for all of our listing instructions, we're not like, do not submit a love letter. And, you know, and it's for on the buy side, I mean, I typically, you know, I tell my clients, that's not a practice that we do. I have had people really want to send them before, and it's like by the time would go through and take out anything that would potentially be a violation, which I don't even want that responsibility on me of like, what is it?
I agree with that. That's a great point.
There's nothing left of the letter. Like, because if you're writing like a love letter of why you need this house and that's all the stuff you're putting in there. All the stuff that you're not allowed to mention is all of the things that you're talking about. So like, there's nothing left to it. Then at this point, it's
Dear seller, I love your house. Thank
Right.
you, buyer.
Goodbye.
right.
Please sell it to me.
Yeah, right. So it's just kind of pointless. And then I know it's hard too. Like, it would be good if it was just put out there like nobody does these, because you know, then you talk to people and they're like, well, my friend said that she got her house
Yes.
because she did
She
the
wrote
love
a
letter,
letter.
and you know, da 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 da, and it's just like it creates a whole thing, you know, and it's
Then you're like, oh, and then they can't understand why you're not going to submit their letter for them.
right,
Because
right.
my friend, her agent submitted.
This is what worked,
Yeah,
and
so
you know,
I
it's-
understand. It's
it's hard
puts us
for
in a spot.
right. So it would be good just to have like clear
Yes.
across the board.
That's a great point, because there's so many agents out there that don't know what the contract says. They don't know the laws they have to follow, legitimately. Like,
Right.
you guys may think I'm joking here listening. This is real life. I mean, we have to explain contracts to other agents who have done business for years all the time. And it puts us in a tough spot because we're overly informed and we know the law. You know, shame on us, right? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. My view is that when I talk to sellers, the reason why we put that in the offer instructions is because I don't want our licenses at risk.
Right.
Because there is no deal that is worth getting shut out of your livelihood, period. I don't care what
Right.
anyone says, number one. And secondly, I don't want the sellers getting sued.
Right.
And you have to be mindful of that. And this is such a hot topic right now. I mean, I'm not surprised this got overturned. What I do know is that you still have to follow the fair housing laws. And I think that's what this is all about. And this would be a great thing for like NAR to actually do something about and have some education around. Like, hey, this is our guidelines that we recommend, but you can't stop the buyer from dropping off the letter. Like your
Right.
buyer that said, hey, I want to drop this off, they could, without telling you, go to the seller's house. They know where they live, right? They're trying to buy their house, stick it in the mailbox or do something like that. I mean, I've had that happen to me in the past where we were negotiating a sale and we negotiated with the agent. The agent didn't like the answer, and the buyer thought I was the one sabotaging it. And my seller said, "Oh well, you did exactly what we told you to do. Let's throw out the letter." But like, you can like that's independent of me. That had nothing to do with me. And they called me and laughed about it. And I'm like, great. I'm glad you guys trust me. Thank God.
Right.
But that's what happens. So the realtors that are playing around with this, I'm gonna feel bad for the person that thinks this isn't a big deal and gets sued, because it's going to happen. I'm book it right now. If I was gonna bet on anything, I'd bet on this, because it's going to happen. So on that note, we kind of all like it's a gray area, and I think people are gonna do what they want to do. Let's switch real quickly here. Mentioning NAR, because we talked about it'd be nice if they came out with a policy here. So NAR raised their dues $10 a year, okay? And the $10 a year, what it's meant for is they've been running an ad. I don't know if you guys have seen this commercial online. It came out in 2019 about like We Are, and it's like the realtor logo. So Sarah's saying, I see the smirk.
I haven't seen it.
No, I know what you're talking about, but it's not like it's this like widely seen commercial. But I know, like, for most people, I don't know that like many people are seeing it. I could be
Maybe
way
I
off
saw
base
it
here,
and
but
don't realize I saw
yeah.
it. So it's not that impactful.
Well, so so the reason they raised the $10, right, is, and let's do the math here, because they got 1.5 million realtors.
it was like
Think
10
I'd be able to
million
do
or
this?
something.
$15 million. I should be able to do it. Idiot. $1.15 million for this That's Who We Are national ad campaign. What do you think about this? I mean, is this worth it? Do you want to see NAR using that kind of money there? And as a side note, I want to give you the salaries of NAR real quick.
Oh, my
CEO of NAR. Last year, Bob Goldberg made over $2 million. The retired CEO in 2021 made $4 million. He's not even the CEO anymore. So knowing all that, I mean, general counsel made $692,000. Lauren June he's probably underpaid. He made $659,000. I'd say give that guy the money, if anybody. What do you think about this? Is that where the money should be going? Because, I mean, realtors are losing their mind. If you look at some of the comments here, Inman did a really great job on this article.
Wow.
Well, I think it's interesting too for the feedback that was given. Like some agents were like, oh, it should be high. Like they should have raised it more than that to really like bring up the quality of the agent and eliminate, I guess, an agent that would leave over a $10. You know, like give up the career over $10. But it's kind of funny the different reactions that were coming in there. I mean, when you add up, like, so $10 per person, but then, yeah, when you look at the whole amount that they got for it and saying that all went to this ad campaign, like, I don't...
From 2019, it's going to run another 5 years, so it's going to go to 2027.
So, like, how does it, is that just for, like, time to air it?
Yeah, commercial.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe, like, tame it down a little bit. Like, I don't think it's something that anybody's looking at and they're like, oh, yeah,
But what
that's
is
a
the
good
ad
one.
campaign for? Like,
It's to encourage people to use realtors.
I don't think
I don't know, you need a
my
commercial for that.
clients would even know. You know, I don't. I mean, when somebody wants to buy a house,
Yeah.
they're gonna either use their friends or a realtor, or they know somebody, or they're gonna get a referral, or you know, they're gonna look on Zillow, right? I mean, they're
Right.
not gonna go to NAR, and
Right.
that's not the first question I get asked. Am I a
Right.
member?
Mm-hmm.
Are you? Hey, Stacey, are you a member of the NAR? Because I saw
Right.
this ad on TV.
Yeah, right?
I've never
it
had
said,
that.
I should
Right.
really, yeah. No, I think it's, I mean, I don't think that was like best use of
funds. Yeah.
funds.
Well, I
If you're
also
sick,
know that they do
Go to a doctor. Like,
right.
Thank you, Sarah. That's
They,
good
they
advice.
do have offices in some very expensive locations. So
Yeah,
maybe
the headquarters is in downtown Chicago. I've walked by it before.
yeah, and in DC, right? They have a location in DC.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't think it's the best use of funds. And I understand that why people. It's only $10, but still,
Right.
it all adds up.
Yeah.
And it's just
So,
you know.
so NAR, they have a couple components of their budget, right? They're paying their CEO $2 million. I don't know what that guy's doing.
Right.
I would have liked them to get involved in Pennsylvania a little more when we were shut down. That would have been nice.
Oh my
They didn't do
gosh.
anything for us.
Yeah, you were instrumental in that.
I think I was
mean,
more instrumental
yeah,
than NAR, and I'm not
absolutely.
kidding around about
Right.
that when I
I'm
say
serious
that.
about that.
I had nothing else to do. That was it. I mean, it was talking to you guys, making calls, and trying to get the state open. So, that being said, they're paying their executives.
Mm-hmm.
They have this ad campaign or lobbying in D.C. for realtors' rights, especially with this DOJ case and everything else. If you were to prioritize those three things, 1, 2, and 3, what would you want to see them spend the most money on?
wait, can you repeat them again?
Lobbying in D.C., paying their executives, especially the retired executive, $4 million. He gets more than the current CEO. I need that job.
Right.
And then also this the ad campaign that they're coming up with.
I guess lobbying.
Yeah,
because I
lobbying
think the ad
one.
campaign is boo.
Yeah.
And all the executive salaries.
I don't know what they do for us. I mean, they had a
Yeah.
really bad. We were here 2 weeks ago. 2 shows ago, right? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And we talked about they had a really bad week. They had the DOJ case.
Yes.
Then they're fighting this pocket listing thing that really isn't their
Yes.
call. I don't understand where these decisions are coming from. So in my view, lobbying should be 1, 2, and 3, and that's
Yeah.
all they should be doing instead of making it more difficult to transact. And
Well, is the fourth segment of their budget now dealing with lawsuits?
I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of legal
Yeah,
fees.
yeah. It seems like
I just
that.
don't, it's $15 million is a lot of money, and I appreciate that. But when they're getting paid like they've been getting paid, they should be prioritizing their members more and maybe getting. And look, I'm not involved in NAR. I've made a choice not to do that because I'm more focused on our business here. I'm clear our advertising is better than this We Are campaign they're running.
Right.
It's so you can only complain so much, and I'm not. This is as far as it's going to go. The point is, though, I think they need to reprioritize for their membership where they're spending their money because that's who they're here to support.
Right.
Right.
The
But if
We
they're
Are
lobbying,
campaign for 9 years, I think, is useless.
wow, and that's eye-opening because I didn't even realize that. But
Yeah.
their members, what are they lobbying for, though, on behalf of their members? Do they even know what their members?
So there are things. I mean, I've seen this happen, and there's a couple people locally that are involved in like PAR. So they'll lobby for the ability to go solicit door to door and have that in the township code, so you can't get fined for that.
Okay.
That I'm all for. We've been door knocking a lot here, and that's been
Right.
something we did when the market shifted the last time and it worked. So like those sort of things are what they lobby for. Again, they have this DOJ case hanging over them. I mean, I'd like to see some more money being spent towards that to get that overturned because I think it's going to cause affordability issues for buyers buying properties if they got to pay that fee.
Right.
The pocket listing thing, I think, is a waste of money.
It's a waste.
Because the seller should be the one making the call anywhere, but they're obviously out of touch here. They're trying to make everything fair instead of making it fair for the client. And then, like, there's always rules in business. It's no different than attorneys or anything else. And so, it's just, they make up a lot of rules that aren't in line with what's in the best interest of the consumer and of the public. Well, that's the same thing, but also their membership. I'll still pay the $10 though.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. And if you're worried about what NAR does and you want to find out more about how we train and do that sort of stuff, check out our scholarship program. It's realestatescholarshipprogram.com. If you don't have a license, no problem. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about our REX. We've talked about them a lot. They were really going after like Zillow and NAR, and they called it cartel-like behavior. Well, guess what? Looks like they're going out of business. So we're going to cover that next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
All right. We are back for the final segment of Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Sarah Tymon, she's Stacey Mitchell, and we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. Stories like this make me believe that we are doing the right thing for the consumer. And I'll tell you why. So REX Real Estate, if you don't know who they are, welcome to the rest of the world because they haven't done much. They have been a squeaky wheel in the industry. So they're basically a discount brokerage that will not cooperate with other agents and will not advertise their listings on the MLS. They refuse to become members of the MLS. So this story broke last week, May 11th, so it was last Wednesday, that it looks like they're going out of business. So, I'm smiling a lot here. I think you can hear it in my voice. It looks like they're shutting down their operations from some cryptic statements from the company. According to the American Genius, which is a publication, they first reported the impending shutdown. They experienced 2 rounds of layoffs last year, and staffers reported a company-wide call on Friday outlined the end of REX Homes. We've seen a little bit of them come into our market here. What do you two think about all this?
Good. I'm glad. I hate it when there's a house that a client wants to see and you see this as the listing side.
Give us some more perspective why you hate that, because this is real.
It's impossible to get information. It's so difficult to schedule a showing. It's difficult to get an offer in. It's impossible. I don't think I've ever had an offer accepted through one of these. Honestly, it's hard. Just to get in the door is very difficult, and nothing's streamlined. It's
It's
a
rough.
whole thing.
Yeah, it's rough. First of all, when the client gives you the address and you can't find it in the MLS, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? Is it a FISBO? What's going on here?
Yeah.
I argue you'd have better luck with a for sale by owner than with one of these companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. And then you have to go through this whole process of just trying to track down somebody. You have to call this 800 number. They're going to text you back the information. They're going to, and it's this whole series of waste of time, back and forth. And you might finally get the code to the lockbox if there is one. You might finally get a seller's disclosure. There's never a seller's disclosure.
Right.
So I have no idea what you're walking into. It's just a nightmare if you're dealing with REX.
Right, and there's not one go-to contact person typically.
Right. You get texts from 5 different people. You're who are these people? can never talk to, there's no listing agent per se.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just been difficult dealing with them, and I when that happens, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like you, Sarah. It's like, oh, this is not good. So for me, I'm excited that they're going to be gone, because first of all, the discount brokerage, they're supposed to be a disruptor and going to change everything, and they're not bringing value. They're not bringing value to the consumer. The sellers, if they knew what a nightmare it was to bring buyers to their home, I'm sure they would be very unhappy.
Right.
You guys bring up a great point. It is actually hurting the seller here when you list with a company like this, because they don't have the infrastructure to handle inquiries. Think about how many inquiries you get on your listings the first weekend they go live, the second week they go live. They charge homeowners a lower fee. We can't talk about commissions, and they have a policy of never paying the buyer's brokers. So they're already saying we don't value you even though you have the buyers, and then they don't give you the information to get you in anyway. That's how not to sell a home. It's that simple. I mean, if you're going to make it that difficult, you're costing the seller money, because some buyers are going to say, hey, you know what? I don't need to see this home. If they're going to be that difficult to get into, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to get into a transaction with these people that may not even close, versus a for sale by owner, which I know we've all closed on the buy side here. And it's actually easier dealing directly with the homeowner than it is dealing with these guys who are now this middle person that just make it more difficult.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think oftentimes if a client sees one of these homes, they don't know who the listing side is. Like they don't know what's going on there. So then they're also looking at a price, and they're like, okay, maybe they're anticipating, maybe we need to go a little above ask, maybe we need to do this, maybe we need to go that, and then it's like, well, they're also not paying the buyer's commission, so now we have to tack that on top of it. So it's like,
what's that?
Right, which if they had, and if they'd maybe like seen this number from the get-go, maybe that's okay. But when you start adding things up as the transaction goes on, it's kind of the same for like when you're doing estimated closing costs. Like I like to kind of overestimate a little bit, because it's, nobody's mad if then it's less, but if you, even if it's not a significant amount, if all of a sudden it's more as you start going through something, it puts a bad taste in your mouth.
And in light of everything, and they were involved with this big lawsuit with NAR and with Zillow, saying they were being like forced out of the industry. People weren't cooperating. But what ends up happening is the consumer suffers when you hire these people. And because of that, it's bad for everybody. And then all of a sudden you get some ticked off seller. They think realtors are trash because they picked the lowest price one that typically will sell homes for significantly less. We know off MLS properties go for 16.98% less, almost 17% less. And you're saving a couple percentage points on this fee without any of the service. I mean, they're just not well informed. And my view of Rex was, I think they just got into the industry to be like, you ever run into like an internet troll, where like they comment on, we've had these people like, the person like comments on your stuff and it's just kind of annoying, or they're like a troublemaker. My view is, all they were doing was being difficult in the industry and trying to disrupt and not actually make it better. And that's evident by their company shutting down and getting closed. And what I'm also clear this does is that this is the indicator of all these other companies that are out there. They're trying to disrupt the industry. They're throwing money at problems instead of believing in hard work, stuff that's worked for decades, or running up not necessarily traditional, because I believe in innovation. I'm not that thick-headed here, but there's a lot of companies that come in and they try this all the time. I've seen them come and go. Purple Bricks, you guys probably never even heard of them, right? Come and go. They were in 2 years discount broker, same thing. Assist to Sell, you ever heard of them?
I've heard of them.
Okay, they're also closed down. Help You Sell, I think, has like a small little. I don't even know. XRealty.com. I mean, all these companies. Like, I'm saying their names because nobody knows who the hell they are. And there's other companies now that I think we're seeing this from all the earnings reports that came out a couple weeks ago. There's choppy waters, and when that happens, what did Steve Bizzagni say? Were you here for the training or on the show last week? A turkey can fly during a hurricane. And these are all these turkey companies that are out there, and we're going to see a lot more of this, along with what Jimmy Mackin talked about with the number of agents declining. So this is just the beginning, and this reinforces everything we've been talking about with the market decelerating and getting a little harder to perform. Luckily, people like you know how to do it. You know the conversations you have to say, and that's what consumers are going to start wanting, because it's not going to be so easy to go buy a house, or so that like fever-pitched interest level. There's still a lot of interest, don't get me wrong, but it's not that like white-hot, oh my God, I have to buy this house right now, I'm just going to get anything. This is another indication that we're seeing a shift.
Yeah.
they call it a restructure when they shut down offices back in October. So, and they didn't really announce they're officially closing, but some people who work at Rex have been posting on their LinkedIn, and like they've been making it known that after 3 years, you know, they
Moving
finally,
on.
it's hard to say goodbye. Right? They're like, we're closing down, but they're still denying that they're closing down.
Right.
Do you see any other companies failing coming up here?
Well, it's been a trend.
Right.
Yeah, it's been.
What about these companies that are constantly losing money? Like, I mean, all the real estate stocks are in the toilet right now. I mean, I'm starting to get concerned that there's people just throwing money at things. Like, they had $10 million in funding, and that's, I think, what kind of kept them afloat. I don't see how you make revenue with a company like this. Are we going to see some of these other companies have way more funding and are operating? I mean, we've seen, Compass comes to mind. They IPO'd at $18. Their stock price, let's look it up. I mean, this is a good one here.
What about like Hauser?
Hauser's another one. They have a sponsorship deal with the Sixers. Have you seen this, by the way?
Are
Yes.
you
I
serious?
know exactly how much this costs because we looked into it. That's like a $400,000 a year partnership, right there.
Wow.
Now they have a lot of VC money. I've done my research here. I mean, but that's another company. I don't know. Like, they're spending so much money that revenue's got to be low. Have you guys done a deal with a Hauser agent before?
Never. Nope.
So I did once, and well, we had an appraisal come in low. It was a listing of mine, and I don't hear anything. I said, great, sounds good. Deadline passes, so like all normal stuff here, not things we need to be following up on. I got a call from the agent. Why didn't you let me know the deadline passed? And I said, well, I didn't realize I was representing the buyer.
Right.
If you want to pay me your commission, I would have let them know.
Yeah.
And she gave me a really hard time, and I said, this is your job.
Right.
And they say they have the best. They don't even know what to. And they're like, well, what should I do? And I'm like, you might need to talk to the person at your company because I'm representing the other side right now, and we're happy about it. And it would have cost my client like $7-8 grand. So it cost our client money. I mean, that's what happens. Compass, I mean, they IPO'd at $18. Their stock price is $4.46 right now. Wow. So, I mean, I just, there's all this like VC money coming in. I don't know these people know how to sell houses.
Right. Like, focus on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, everyone's
Why do the VCs keep reinvesting in these companies?
It's a good question. What I know is that 15-18% of the GDP is from real estate, right? We had Nick Bailey. He's on Agent Hacks coming up here, the CEO of Remax, and he said that there's a lot of agents. I talked about this last week, that they're renting their business right now. I think people see this as like, we got to get a piece of that. The first show we did, Sarah, was the piece of the commission pie. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are like, I want a piece of that because real estate hasn't been disrupted. Right. And what they realize is this job is hard. Harder than I think most people realize. That's why 13% survive. Right. It's got an 87% failure rate. And all these companies think they can do it better. Rich Barton did the same thing with Zillow. He said, he basically said, I'm smarter than everybody else. I had a horrible experience with a realtor. Well, welcome to the club. I think everyone has because only 13% make it. And he thought he was going to change the whole industry. Then I saw him 2 weeks ago in San Antonio, and he says, well, for us to win and the consumers to win, our partners need to win too. I've never heard that from him. Right. How long have we been talking about Zillow? You ever hear them say that before?
No.
But they don't understand. Like, real estate is not technology per se. It's relationships. It's people. You have people involved.
Right.
And it's a close contact sport. You know what I mean? It's not something that's done, I don't know, like you don't order something up and then
It's
like
not
an Amazon.
It's not just like, it's not quite as transactional as like a lot, it's
and
a whole
techie people probably don't see that or understand that to the extent that we know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they think it's easy. We can cut out these agents. We don't need them.
Right. And I'll just like give you this piece of information and without realizing like the process because it's all about getting to the settlement table. So like if you don't get there and you don't get to the end, it didn't matter.
And it's all the
stuff
in-between that keeps it together.
Right. It's all these little things
that
you can't necessarily show on a spreadsheet and that you can't just like give as like whatever. Yeah, you can't
even
a
make
lot
half
of
of
things
it up.
that pull it the whole way through. For sure.
And we had 3 days ago, we had an agent on our team, and the client took out another mortgage before they closed, and now they can't close on this house. Like that deal's gone, right? And it's things like that, yeah. But you can't make no one told them to do that. It was, but there's all these different pieces we're trying to put together, and it's a tough situation. You guys bring up a good point that it's like managing all these different pieces because everyone's like, I got my own lender or I got my own this, and like the tech thing. technology is only an enhancement. If you look at the book Good to Great, I've read it a number of times, and they compare companies that outperform the market like 6 to 7 times the norm of comparison companies. So like Circuit City and Best Buy, or like GE didn't even do that. They didn't even hit those numbers. And none of the companies that outperformed, that were like the outliers, said technology was the reason they got ahead. It was other things, like having like a flywheel and like all these, like keeping it simple like a hedgehog would. And the whole point of that is technology is just an enhancement. When we shut down, Gary Keller came out on his podcast and said it's not like, I remember everyone said it was going to be a virtual world. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like we're in a virtual world anymore?
No.
I don't. I think people want to be more in person more than ever.
Yes.
Technology can enhance, and it's but like physical, like one-to-one interactions. Like, I'm not having a lot of Zoom meetings about houses anymore on listing appointments. No. Maybe like a consult or a conference call on Zoom. Right. But I was
or
doing
if you
business.
have clients that are like long distance,
Yes.
or like
Right.
strange hours, or like whatever.
Right.
But now if it's like, if it makes sense to do it in person,
Yep.
it's happening in person.
Yeah, so that I think that's a great example, because everyone's like, oh, we're going to be virtual. We're not going to leave our houses. It's going to be like that Bruce Willis movie where he's like a robot walking around. If any of you guys have seen that, like I just don't see it
It'd
happening.
be a horrible world. I'm sorry, being
Yeah.
totally virtual.
I don't see
it happening.
Real estate, I mean, you have to have those tough conversations with people. You can't do that virtually. And I mean, there was years I would take listings on the phone without ever meeting the person before we had like video capabilities and everything else. So, I just don't see. I think this is the beginning of all this tech innovation. There's some stuff that people have embraced and it's worked really well, but a lot of it, most people don't even use the tech that they have.
Right.
So I think there's going to be more of these companies that, and you know, I'm picking on Compass a little bit because our tech is better, but the best Compass agents are the ones that are skilled. Just like any other company. There's good and bad agents at every single company. The tech is, our tech's just the same as everybody else.
Right.
Remember when Gary Keller said he had AI? Remember this?
Wait, when was that?
You know, it was like 2019. So maybe before you guys both got into the business, I was at the T360 Summit. He goes, we got AI. And I'm like, no, you don't. And this is what I'm thinking in the stands. And you know what? He spoke again this year, 3 years later. No mention of AI. You know what he talked about? Long-term lead nurturing and doing all the basic stuff that you need to do. So I think that's a great example of where the market's going to go, and we're going to see a lot of people get out of the business, companies and agents. Yeah. Anything you guys want to add here? I know I kind of went on a little bit of a rant. I think that's the most I've talked during a segment in the history of the show.
This is good news.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good news. All right. So you want to follow Stacey. She's at the number 2 Mitchco, 2 MITCHCO on Instagram. You can follow Sarah. It's at Ty_Ty_Time, TY_TYTIME. You can follow me at Tom Toole III, at Tom Toole 3RD. Look up our live stream every week, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. It's every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And that's it for this episode of Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.